Like many sports, fans of motorsport tend to center around the nitty-gritty, the strategy, the skill with the tires or fuel, overtaking ability, and so on. But there are always those most raw aspects, such as speed and danger, that can attract anyone, whether they're a race fan or not. So when you build the biggest and fastest oval in the nation, it tends to draw a crowd. Such is the concept behind Talladega. Let's see if it gives us more of that classic Dega action as we get ready to watch the Epilepsy Awareness 150. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joseph Tebben. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Joseph, the Cup cars at Dega are pretty much like peanut butter and jelly. What can we expect today?
Well, I would argue that they're more like peanut butter and mayonnaise. It's a strange combination. You don't think it'll work, but it actually works fantastically, and it provides some great pleasure and some great joy. But there are some drivers who absolutely hate Talladega, just like some people will hate a strange combination like peanut butter and mayonnaise. And if you're one of those drivers, well, honestly, you're not here in the first place. But Talladega can provide us some massive accidents that you're going to hate if you're involved in, but you're going to love if you manage to get through.
One always something that you got to watch out for here during this race. And well, what are they looking for in this race? Well, 54 laps of it, to be specific. They are running the Cup cars, as we mentioned. So this is the Gen 6 they've had out on the circuit. And it is a fixed setup, so they can't find anything except for in their driving ability, which will be a little bit more minute in differences around here. We expect strategy to play a bigger part. They have 100% fuel, but they will have to stop at least once for fuel during this race. And they have a faster pair, so even though it is a special event, you can still stay in things even if you get too much damage. We have seen that come into play into these special events for this series in races past, rather. Presley Sora currently holds the top time in the warm-up, which they're currently in right now. And they have about 7 minutes or so left out here. Actually, excuse me, 2.5 minutes left, and then they've got 5 minutes of qualifying. They'll get 2 laps out there. Considering most of the drivers have raced with one another before, Joseph, is there much to glean out there today in this warm-up, or is this just out having some fun right now?
I'd say they're just out having fun right now, trying to get the best draft they can to knock Presley Sora off the top for the meaningless title of winner of practice. But, you can learn some things. Sometimes when you have different weather or you have different track conditions, getting a little bit of running in the pack can actually give you an advantage once you get to the actual race.
Let's look at that weather, because it is somewhat unusual. It is 68 degrees Fahrenheit air temperature, but look at the track temperature, 114 degrees. That's actually up 2 degrees since about 15 minutes ago in practice, so it is certainly rising. We don't talk about temperatures a whole lot when it comes to Superspeedway racing, but I have to imagine that if they keep a lot of green flag running out there, that they might feel it a little bit.
Yeah, those tires are going to be getting absolutely grilled on a 114-degree track surface. It's going to be an Alabama barbecue for those pieces of rubber. But we have the one pit stop, I think. The one pit stop, and you have a faster pair, so I don't think they'll be worrying too much about their tires.
Hope not. Certainly would like drivers to be able to focus on the strategy aspect, which I mentioned kind of the bigger thing here about Superspeedway racing. Now, all of our oval fans obviously know about that, but for people who might be tuning in for the first time and not follow races at Daytona or Talladega, why don't you explain exactly what we're talking about when we say strategy at a race like this?
Well, when you're running at Daytona or Talladega, you're full throttle the whole time, so getting an advantage on the racetrack is not so much being a faster driver as it is timing your moves in the draft and frankly staying alive, because we're going to see these drivers going guaranteed 2 wide for the majority of the time, maybe 3 wide and occasionally 4 wide. And if you send an aggressive move through the middle when they're 3 wide, making it 4 wide, you're probably going to cause a crash and die in iRacing terms.
Yeah, the wonders of sim racing. At least nobody's risking life or limb here as the warm up finishes up, which we're getting information from the peanut gallery. Presley has apparently said he gets 100 extra horsepower for winning practice. We'll see if that actually is the case. And we get ready to head out now. Do we have any change? No, no change in the temperature. So it is still pretty much the same out there. Now, I imagine do we expect to see drivers kind of try and run the first lap a little bit high on the track to gain that momentum here, Joseph?
I guess we'll have to see. We see Bill Kruska on the screen right now as the first car on track. We'll see what he chooses to do. He was around the middle of the table in practice, but that doesn't really matter. I think it's anyone's game for pole, honestly.
Yeah, it certainly will come down to the tiniest of margins. But we've also seen in the past some drivers simply elect to start from the back in races like these at super speedways.
Yeah, that's the strategy I frequently employ when I'm doing the races on the open weeks at Daytona and Talladega. But unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes if you're too cautious at the back, you can actually lose the draft. And when you bet on a wreck and bet on getting back in the draft that way, the wreck sometimes doesn't come, and you're just very lonely, losing the draft, running about a mile behind the field for the rest of the race.
Bora seems to be inclined towards running at the top on his first lap, seeing if he can get the speed going. It's amazing these little tricks that seem so opposite of what your instinct would tell you to give yourself that tiny edge over everyone at a track like this. Because I remember when I first saw someone doing that, I just went, "Huh, like what? And what is the purpose of this?"
Well, when you think about it, since you are full throttle around the whole track, that's actually a longer line around the track, which theoretically gives you more time to build up speed. And then as he is starting his first lap or second lap, the actual qualifying lap, I assume he'll go closer to the bottom to take that shorter line to spend less time on the track.
Down to the bottom, Sora is the first one across at a 51.5, but it's not the quickest. Again, we don't think this one will count as much. Drew Bernardi in the number 86 leads the timing sheets for what it's worth. We think Kruska and Sora will be the first two to manage to complete their second laps here in this 5-minute qualifying, which they'll need quite a bit of to try and find something here today. We had a tiny bit of cloud cover, which will certainly help the drivers. If they waited, they might wind up regretting it because it looks like some of that cloud cover is going away and the track temperatures will only go up. Loki Brown up to the top, beat by Chris Willite. And what does Sora have as he crosses the line on his second time? It's a long ways to that finish line here. It's a 50.8, and it only puts him up to second.
I mean, it was a pretty big jump between the first and second laps as predicted, because he was running that longer line and he spent the second lap closer to the yellow line. So we'll see if other drivers try and implement that strategy, because it did get Sora awfully close to pole, even if it wasn't quite enough.
Waiting on a couple cars still to get a time in. Nicholas Rees and Johnny Brugg. It looks like Johnny's actually still in pit lane, so I don't think I'll have enough time to get much of a competitive lap in. This is Netherty out there as he sits in P4. His second lap, well, actually, excuse me, it bumps him up to P4 with a 50.859, and now he falls down to fifth position. Still have Willite at the top spot. I see Zicardo in the number 60 coming through as that is Nicholas Rees putting his first time in. That'll put him in 11th. Here is the number 60 car, 50.882, and that will jump him up to 10th place, 1/1000th off of the next position.
And honestly, we talked earlier about how winning practice is meaningless. Pole position, or even starting on the front row, is not necessarily going to win you the race around here. It's good to start up front, but anything can happen.
I'm seeing 14 drivers that have put in a time with 30 seconds left. Means we're going to have 6, I believe, who will not lay one down here for today. So that will end our qualifying. Let's go through our starting order for today's Epilepsy Awareness 150. Chris Willite will be on the pole with Presley Sora starting in second place. You've got Loki Brown in P3, and the outside of row 2, Austin Greer. Alan Wilson, the third, managed to put it into P5. The right of him will be Jason Nethery starting P6. Jamie Dobbs will be starting in 7th spot. Then you've got William Kruska in P8. J. Mitchell Adams is on the inside of row 5, and Joseph Yakes will round out your top 10.
That was the top 10. Now here are the bottom 10 in this 20-car race. Starting in 11th is Matt Zaccardo in the number 60 alongside Lawrence Shaughnessy. Then Nicholas Reese and Drew Bernardi were the last two drivers to set a time. And then we have our 6 who didn't qualify. They've just been essentially placed randomly. It's Adam Sweet, Scott Rickard, Johnny Brugg, Wesley Fuller, Sean Hook, and Joshua Billiter.
20-car field here for the last special event of the season. These drivers probably eager to get that one W if they haven't claimed one yet here amongst these 12 rounds. Actually, excuse me, 11 rounds that they've been running over the course of the year. Of course, there's no championship among them. These are all just for pride and for some fun as they've switched back and forth between Daytona and Talladega, waiting for the Mustang pace car to lead them away here for the Epilepsy Awareness 150. And we'll get going for 54 laps. Anybody that's really caught your eye today, Joseph, from what we've been watching in the warm-up or qualifying, you think is a good bet?
I mean, Presley Sora, we have to mention him, leading practice on the front row in qualifying. But honestly, with only 20 drivers, it is quite literally anyone's game. And when we get to lap 54, you could pick any of these drivers as the winner, and it would be a very real possibility.
Such as the crapshoot that sometimes these super speedway races can be. As you can see, the start and finish line is not quite what you'd expect on a tri-oval. It's after the tri-oval portion, heading down towards the first corner, after even the pit exit. And keep that in mind, both on restarts as well as when they come to the finish, because that can certainly affect how it all unfolds when they come down the line, especially with it being the last round. If anybody gets a little bit too antsy at the end there, Joseph.
Well, it is Talladega, and I don't know these drivers too well, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see, similar to real life, some absolute chaos if there's enough cars running on that last lap coming to the checkered flag.
The thing is that there's also no team owners that have to pay the bill for a wrecked car. So at the end, it's just maybe a few hurt feelings and hopefully a little bit of laughter after a big wreck to bring it across the line. As they come down the backstretch, Willite, what does he have? Having managed to get the pole. What was he in practice, actually? Looks to be he was 5th overall in practice, was Chris Willite. So certainly still a strong runner. Of course, you don't always have to show your cards in practice. And maybe that's what Chris was doing, just keeping them close to his chest, see whether he can sneak one in and manage to start on the pole. So they now come through turns 3 and 4 under the pace car. Let's hope that's one of the last times we'll have to see it here today and that we get a nice clean race. They get some interesting racing going on at top speed. 3 different makes of cars bring it around behind that Mustang. It's been a long season as they give each other wishes of good luck over the radio. It's going to be a little bit of a wait because, as we mentioned, that start-finish line is a little ways down. Pace car is heading down into the lane, but Willite now has to give it a moment. Doesn't want to go too early. Staying patient. Sora's watching. Looking for that green flag coming out of the tri-oval. There it is. Green flag is out here at Talladega for the Epilepsy Awareness 150. And they are almost dead even on the throttle at the start with a little bit of a nose ahead for Presley Sora. They send it down into turn 1.
It looks like Chris Willite has maintained the lead on the bottom, but it's only turn 1 and everyone's still in it for now. We saw before the race started, actually, Adam Sweet and William Krusko were given end-of-line penalties, so they are currently shotgun on the field.
Drivers trying to get down to the bottom here. Not much rubber on the track, so really no reason to be up high. And up at the front, Willite is fully clear of Sora. Ooh, almost drifts up into him, though. 98 having to take a little bit of a dodge. He's going to use the momentum off the banking to start to get right up next to him. He's being pushed along by the number 45. That's Austin Greer behind him.
As Sora goes down to the bottom, takes the bottom line away from Chris Willite, and he's now your leader.
All right, so early days and finding a great shot off the high line. Everybody else taking notes for sure. Third now going to the number 24 of Loki Brown. And the top line dropping back as the 45 of Greer can't seem to keep pace down the back stretch. No room at the end, though. It is basically locked solid on the bottom line.
Yeah, the bottom line has, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars in formation, but the top line's a little bit less organized. They only have about 4 cars in a little parade line, so they're going to have to start getting back together if they want to work their way back up and replicate what they were able to do when Presley Sora was leading that train.
For the neutral viewer is that nobody has fallen off. All 20 are still with the front pack. A little bit of a weave from the number 87 up on the high side. That is Joseph Yakes. Gets it under control. He's about 4th in line on that top side. Still seeing little tiny gaps open up, but nobody able to do much to get down in there. Still, this is a nice, calm start here for what is a 54-lap race. There's still a long ways to go.
Yeah, the first 3 laps, maybe even the first half of the race, could be very calm, but once these drivers start realizing that they need to make moves if they want to win this race, stuff is going to go crazy.
One of our bigger movers include Johnny Brugge, and the number 8 started 17th. He's up to 11th. He's actually at the tail of the top line right now, and now the 24 starts to get it going, and we got one drop into the back. Is that the 91? That is Jamie Dobbs deciding he doesn't like the way things are looking, so he's going to get out of the thick of the action.
Yeah, things are getting a little bit squirrely, even though we're only going 2 wide for now, but Jamie Dobbs just hanging back a little bit for now.
The 24 moves up to the top spot. Loki Brown now ahead of Presley Sora. That's going to be our second lead change of the race. Still the 54 of Austin Greer doesn't seem to be the one to be able to get up to the front, or maybe he doesn't want to get up to the front. I mean, there could, with one pit stop, there could be fuel games, I suppose.
Maybe with 54 laps. I'm not entirely sure how the calculations on that are going to work. But maybe like the likes of Jamie Dobbs, Joshua Billiter currently sits in 20th and last. Maybe they're just hanging out, saving fuel, and they're going to hope for a fuel mileage win if we go caution-free.
Yeah, our drivers that didn't qualify are all mostly back there. Brugge's the only one that's really tried to go forward from amongst them. Billiter, Sweet, Fuller, Hook, and Rickard are the 5 that have just kind of stayed back there. Kruska, who we know got the end-of-line penalty, is also amongst them.
I mean, they qualified at the back to stay out of trouble, and I'm not surprised that they're staying back there to stay out of trouble. As we see a little bit of 3 wide further back in the pack. I'm not sure if that was intentional or just a mistake, but I can't tell who that is. It's a green car, and now they're back in line.
Yeah, it looks like Yakes, I think, in the 87 who fell backwards. Not sure if that was intentional or just lost the draft and decided not to fight it. Obviously, pretty easy to still catch a big pocket of air around here with everybody, all 20 cars locked together. It's still being run by Billiter at the back. He's the caboose of this train of cars. Doesn't show any signs of panic. that is not where he wants to be. Seems to be part of the game for him. We're already on lap 7. We got a car low. That did look like a little bit of intentionally dropping back, and I think that was Bernardi in the 86.
Yep, we're starting to see a little bit of separation with these back 4 cars, actually, with Kruska, Sweet, Fuller, and Billiter. Well, actually, as I say that, they seem to have caught the draft again. I think Bernardi falling back actually slowed down.
25 gets hit.
There we go.
Wreck. Sora involved in that one, I believe. Looks like Yakes. Oh, a lot of cars. This is already our big one, but doesn't seem to be many who got extensive damage. Just a lot of people spinning.
Yeah, I am eager to see the replay of that because
Sora got the worst of it, and he was just below the 25 of Nethery, who got tipped by the 8. There you're going to see, turns him into Sora, and then he gets whacked again. Looks like Bernardi got him, and I think Max Zaccardo as well got a big piece of it in the number 60. We're going to see another angle here. Oh.
Kabalamo. That was a massive hit for Presley Sora, and also the 36 had a little bit of a tap. So I am eager to see who pulls into the pits as they approach pit road, see who has extensive enough damage they feel they need to pit this early.
Remember that they've got the spare car as well. For those not familiar with iRacing, essentially that means that if you get damage of any sort, you are allowed to come into pit lane at any time and get a completely fresh car, an undamaged car. Now, once you use that, you can't go back to the other car. So basically, you kind of have to use it at your own discretion. Greer's coming in. I don't think Greer was involved in that. Willite as well. So maybe this is a few deciding I could maybe get to the end from here?
Yeah, only 3 cars actually stayed out. So I think some drivers are just coming in for a bit of a strategy move here.
Naturally, Thor is going to come in, I assume, for the spare car with a smoking engine. Brugge and Brown are the only 2 that did not come in. Sean Hook is the first out. Oh, Hook did not go to his stall, so he abandoned that, decided he maybe wanted the track position. Adam Sweet abandoned it as well. So did Jamie Dobbs.
Yeah, I'm looking at Presley Sora in the pits right now, and I wish this was the case in real life. You slam into a wall at 200 miles per hour, and then you pull in the pits, and you instantly get a fresh new car. So he got taken out from the lead pack, but he is not going to be too Sora about this because he's got a fresh new car already.
By the way, interesting strategy from Austin Greer. 2-tire call for the number 45 car. That got him out first among those who actually took service. It was actually out ahead of Jamie Dobbs, despite Jamie not stopping in his pit stall. Of the drivers who took 4 tires, the number 7 of Willite is the first out. So already split strategies, not just among pitters and non-pitters, but those who want to take tires and those who only want to take 2 tires. Going to restart probably around lap 11 here, and we'll get going to green once again.
I think the only drivers who stayed out there were Loki Brown and Johnny Brugge. So they're going to be starting up front. Johnny Brugge was the one who was in the epicenter of that accident, so I wonder how careful he's going to be taking it from the front.
Point. Yeah, let me go take a look on my screen again to see how hard of a hit he got. If he got it, well, he made the slight contact. I remember that because he kind of started the spin, but that might mean that he was ahead of it all.
Yeah, he was like the eye of the hurricane. Everyone wrecked around him, and he was just in a little bit of a calm spot in the middle, and he made it through.
So, and it doesn't appear to be damage on the car from what we saw on our cameras. So that contact seems to be okay. Sean Hook coming back in after, I guess, his repairs didn't make him terribly happy, and I think now he's taking his spare car in the number 18.
Yeah, he didn't get the fast repair when he came through the first time, and there was no front bumper on that car, so he definitely had to come back in.
He's adding lightness, I believe.
Adding lightness, or as we say in the business, subtracting weight.
Still, Brown and Brugge did not come in. So they decided to stay out. For those drivers that missed their stall, I'm assuming that was accidental then. And that was not an intentional call on their part. I had to come back down, lost some track position. But as you mentioned a little bit earlier, Joey, track position, not as important at a track like this.
Not as important, or not at all important. We still have 44 laps to go, which is remarkable, and that's more than enough time for anything to happen. And now, with almost, I don't know how many drivers took their new car on that, but if they wreck again, they're out, and the herd will begin to thin as we continue to crash if that happens again.
We got a little while before we got into trouble for the first time. The lights are out on the pace car, so we're going to get going this time by. And it's going to be Loki Brown that leads the way. Now, he got to lead a few laps already, so he should know how to do it. Brugge, though, we haven't seen up at the front. Greer has been there or thereabouts. And then, of course, Chris Willite, we know, started on the pole. So, some interesting cast of characters who clearly like to be in the lead, and maybe a bit of a newcomer here with Brugge in that number 8. Waiting for the pace car to head on in, and then once again they'll have to wait patiently as they trundle through the tri-oval at a very slow 70 miles an hour. Getting some word from Billiter that he tends to drop to the back, so he doesn't want to be in the middle of the pack where he is now. Through the tri-oval, waiting for the green. Green flag is out. 24 and the 8 on the loud pedal. A little bit of a slower start for the number 7. Second in line on the high side, Chris Willite will start to get a run as they pick up speed. Wonder if he's going to try and slingshot his way around.
The bottom line again seems to have the advantage though early on, but the top is starting to work together, starting to form a little bit of a train. You see one car down there moving to the back. I believe that is not Sora. That is Wesley Fuller.
And at the front, we saw the 45 of Greer immediately jump to the high side when he saw an opening ahead of Brugge. So he wants to be at the front of the line. And we saw him do this before. He was at the front of the line on the top side for much of the first stint. So will he insist on staying there now? That is the question. As they come to start lap 12 now. He's certainly got a lot of speed here down the front stretch. But as they come into the turn, not quick enough. He can't cut down, and he starts to fall behind again.
Yeah, that was a big run, but unfortunately you're running a longer line on the top, so you can be going a little faster, but you're still going to fall behind as they take a shorter line on the bottom.
I saw a car up on the high side dropping back. I'm not sure who that was. We'll try and look at that a little bit later. So it's working okay-ish for the 45 as he continues to lead the high line, but has yet to be able to actually chop down ahead of the number 24 of Loki Brown. Back around for another lap. So far, so good on this restart. That is good news considering we sometimes can have a case of cautions breed cautions.
Yeah, we're only 2 by 2, about 3 rows back, about 3, maybe 3.5 rows back. The rest of the field is seemingly taking it a little bit cautious, a little bit careful as we see a big old line of single file cars from 7th back.
Yeah, it looks like Adam Sweet in 11th is the first to have lost the slipstream. Kruska's with him. They're going to have to start hustling, working together to see if they can get with that front pack. And then another big gap back to Jamie Dobbs, who's literally on his lonesome, as Yakes, Billiter, Zaccardo, Ricard are all together and not in actually a very organized line.
Not organized at all, but they do seem to be at the very, very back tail of the draft. So they haven't entirely lost it, but Jamie Dobbs at the back of the field. Oh no, they have lost the draft. That was me having a bit of a perspective error there. I was looking at the front pack. The back pack has actually lost the draft completely.
And what's interesting is as we continue to keep the cameras on the top spots, you can see that the top line whittled down to 2. Now they're getting some friends, though. And that's the pair that I mentioned that looked like they may have lost it, Sweet and Kruzka. They're going to join to help out, see if their effort can do anything, making 4 faster than 2 separate pairs. And boy, are they gaining quickly with all that open air and a huge toe from the top 2 ahead. And now they hit the wall that is the leaders of their line.
Have to see if they can get that momentum going again. They seem to have the advantage going into turn 1, but they can't really do anything with it on the top side with that giant train of momentum taking the shorter line underneath.
Ooh, and Greer just got on the radio, said he got a little bit hooked by Brugge.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a tap on the backstretch as we see Lawrence Shaughnessy has actually moved up to take the lead of that second line, and he's actually going to take the lead of the race now, and he's going to take Greer with him.
This is what tells me that Greer isn't really all that interested in being in the front necessarily, although he does finally duck down for the first time, continuing to hold that second place. Shaughnessy now our new leader for the first time in today's event.
We're not even halfway through, and I think half the grid has already led laps today. So, as usual at Talladega, it is well and truly anyone's game.
But our top group seems to have been limited down to 12 cars, I believe. Sora is at the back of it. They're trying to pull along Fuller and Billiter. I think they might actually get up to it, but then it is truly a lost cause behind them, as guys like Dobbs, Yakes, Ricard, Bernardi, and Hook have basically lost the plot today.
Well, we're on lap 17, so we're about a quarter of the way through the race, and if we go the rest of the race with no cautions, I will be very surprised. So I don't think Dobbs, Yakes, the gang you were talking about, I don't think they're completely out of it yet.
True. There's still chances to get back in. Kruzka decides to fall to the back of his group. Number 6 is going to be able to get behind and actually might even help with Fuller and Billiter here. The number 3 and the number 35, yep, are going to let him into line. So now 3 cars pulling together to see if they can catch that first group and make it up to 14 cars instead up at the front. By the way, conditions keep heating up. For a while, it was 115 degrees Fahrenheit on the track, which surprises me because we do keep seeing cloud cover here and there.
Well, sometimes the weather is unpredictable. Maybe they're hot clouds. I don't know. I didn't go to meteorology school.
I mean, you don't have to tell me about unpredictable weather. I grew up in the Midwest, so I totally understand about, you know, the joke was always, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes. Meanwhile, another car going to get out of line, take the very high side, the 55. It looks like that is Adam Sweet, who's going to fall behind everybody.
Yeah, and William Kruzka, who fell back a little bit earlier, he seems to be happy to run at the back of this little train.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
36 of Rees got hooked big time on the back stretch. Thankfully, he had all that paved runoff on the inside. He caught it. Can we get an onboard with a 36 coming off of turn 2? Because my goodness. Here we go. It's a change your pants moment. Whoa.
That
Great.
was very squirrely. But luckily, there is a big old airstrip of paved tarmac down there, so if you do lose it, you can save it.
Why did you say that? Because before the track was here, there actually was an air base, I think it was an Air Force base, if I'm recalling correctly. Yep,
Indeed,
getting
you can see
confirmation.
in the infield, there's
Yeah.
those crossed lines. And funnily enough, cars in wrecks at Talladega do frequently fly higher than planes.
As they once again come around, being led by Lawrence Shaughnessy. Hasn't given up the lead yet, but look at this. That little mess that they had on the backstretch seems to have changed the complexion of everything, because what used to be a consistent high line is now gone down to a single line, and I think the 25 is trying to change that. That's Nethery. Nobody's looking to help him, though. Oh, there we go. The 24 is going to get with him. Brown deciding that he has some sympathy and maybe feels there could be some advantage taken. They get hooked up. Now can they get the speed going?
With only 2 cars, I'm not sure they're going to get too much speed going. But I was going to say, it seems to be just like real life. You get to the middle of these races, people are taking it easy, going single file, and just waiting for an opportunity later in the race to start racing hard again.
Yeah, we're getting close to that halfway mark here. So this is now definitely a longer run than what we had prior. Giving a big push to the number 8, Loki Brown. Seems to be working well with that red machine. He's going to be able to get him all the way to the front. They run out of straightaway. Ooh, and the two of them bobbling a lot going into that corner.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple. Oh, William Kruska was trying to fall to the back of the pack, and he clipped the apron, got a little bit loose. I was going to say, he's just happy to run at the back, save some fuel, run on cruise control, but he proved me wrong because he about wrecked.
Well, I'm glad you're able to at least grab it once again. See if he can hold on to the slipstream. It does look like he's still got something with the cars in front of him, so hopefully he should be able to get in the game. Sora, who we know lost an engine before, his spare car certainly looking pretty good. The 98 is up to 4th and certainly in this thing once again. Now on lap 23, the front pack seems to be down to 11 cars with Wesley Fuller at the back of it. They're towing stragglers at this point. Adam Sweet is in there, Josh Billiter, and we mentioned William Kruska just kind of clinging on. And then you've got a big gap, 13 seconds back to Jamie Dobbs, who leads a very clear second pack at this point. Dobbs being followed by Yakes, Bernardi, Hook, Ricard, and Ziccardo.
I mean, if we keep running green flag laps for much longer, these guys are 14, 15 seconds behind now. Multiply that by 3, they might get lapped before the end of the race if we go green.
What happened to the top line here? I looked back at that second pack, and when I come back up here, they're all scattered about and now trying to get down low once again. Brugge falls all the way back to 8th, and Loki Brown down to 10th, Nethery down to 11th. But those extra cars in the line has really brought everybody, all the stragglers, as I called them before, back into the game. Fuller decides he's going to go up high and is going to fall back as William Kruska instead decides he wants to move forward. Is he going to hook up with Fuller? No, he comes back down to the bottom.
It's just a train right now. We are approaching halfway in 2 laps time. So we'll see how long it is until folks decide to start running in 2 lines again. We saw the top line not working out with only 2 or 3 cars, so we're going to need to see an organized effort later in the race to try and take this away from Shaughnessy in the lead.
Oh, there's 2 cars there trying to pull a high line and then coming back to the bottom, it seems. I'm trying to double check. I want to say that the max fuel is usually about 30 to 33 laps around here, if it's all green flag racing. Now they had the caution in there. Where are we? Let's see. So 2 cars did not stop. That's Brugge and Brown, which, you know, now that I say that, I almost wonder maybe they jumped back just to try and save a bit of that fuel to see if they could stretch it longer in hopes of a caution.
That is definitely a real possibility, and they're not quite at the back of this train. They're about in the middle, but you're still going to be saving fuel in the middle, and they will have only 7 more laps to get to 33 laps. So I'm not entirely sure how much longer they can stretch this.
That's where I'm a bit confused why so many drivers who weren't involved in the wreck came down and I assume took fuel and probably some tires because they I highly doubt they'll be able to get to the end from here unless they were expecting a lot of cautions or potentially maybe just hoping for a short second stop, a splash and go.
I mean, it's Talladega. I don't blame anyone for expecting a lot of cautions, but other than that original wreck, it's been a surprisingly clean race so far. So I think we'll see green flag pit stops eventually.
Way mark now in this race. Shaughnessy still your leader, having started from 12th. There is a testament to your point made earlier about the starting position not really mattering too much. That pack behind them is definitely losing time. It's up to 20 seconds now. They absolutely need a caution to get back in the game.
Yeah, they're about 1.5 to 2 seconds slower per lap. So we got 27 laps left. Multiply that by 2. There is definitely a very real possibility of getting lapped if we don't wreck again.
It could actually complicate things immensely, I imagine, because having drivers involved in the front pack, if they get in the mix among them, which we have seen in the past at Superspeedway races, it makes it all the harder to tell who you're fighting and who's important to fight.
Yeah, and if they're going too wide, if there's 2 lines when they reach the lapped cars and the lapped cars force them to go 3 wide momentarily, that is frequently when drama and chaos can occur.
That's for sure. So come to complete yet another time around. We've been green flagged since lap 11 here. We are looking at about 20 to 21 laps in for most of our drivers on the fuel stint. 29 laps in for Brugge and Brown. So I imagine they should be coming in at least within the next 5 laps.
We will have to wait and see how much fuel they've been able to save in this little fuel-saving formation they've got going. But Brown is actually on the top, and he's moving forward. The second line is reforming.
Wow, he had a lot of speed coming up there, but he doesn't have much help. Nethery is a little ways behind, and he could get in. There's the 24 ducked down. He's committed to it. He's trying to stay up high. He still has space to get in if he wants it. That 8 is bobbling dangerously close, unfortunately, to the 25. Now he's able to get up in front of him. Thinks he sees something in the top line. Certainly looks like it. Side draft working very well for the 24 with not much help from behind. Initially, he's still quickly moving forward.
And this is not a move I would expect to see from drivers who plan to come to the pits in a few laps' time, because they're going to be on the top with no way to get to the bottom unless they pull a Quinn Houff and slam into someone going into the pits, which isn't going to happen.
Good point that they do really need to be on the bottom. This is utterly confusing to me at this point, unless they've got a lot more laps than we anticipate. They're making their way to the front, though. I mean, could just be a very bold move and think, well, I can still be on the inside. I'll just be at the front of the pack. So far, it actually might come true. The 8 giving a nice push to the 24 down the back stretch. Can't quite get them ahead of the 9 and the 45.
There's a very close moment through turns 1 and 2 between Brown and Greer. They got a little bit too close for comfort. Luckily, they didn't hit each other. But the top line is desperate to get that side draft and try and finally take the lead again.
Who's been happy to be Mr. Second Place for much of this race is still on that bottom side, helping along the number 9 of Shaughnessy. Exactly when will we get our drivers down to pit lane? That one caution maybe gave them, I would think, about a lap at least. That should only get them at max, I imagine, to lap 36, unless my memory is wrong on typically what these cars can do at full speed racing. Someone looking low thought maybe there was a pit stop planned there. 36, nope. Just getting some fresh air. That's Nick Reese, who holds the bottom line.
When you're running in a pack for this long, sometimes you do need to start thinking about getting fresh, clean air. If your engine temperatures are starting to overheat, you do need to spend some time outside of the draft to cool down a little bit.
Certainly. Top line still only composed of 3 cars, the 24 to the 8 and the 25. They don't seem intent on getting down to the bottom line so that they can pit. For those just joining us, Loki Brown in the 24 and the 8 of Brugge have yet to stop at any point during this race, so they will need to come in for fuel. The rest of the drivers probably will as well, but they can last quite a bit longer from here on out. Someone getting up way high there. I think that may have been Kruzka.
Just a little bit of an update on the gang of 6 at the back of the pack. They are not content to run in an orderly line. They are single file, but there's a lot of bumping going on between first, second, and third. Maybe they're literally trying to push their way forward. It's a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. You would think that they would know they've got to work together to try and get up to the front. Our leaders once again stay out, completing lap 34 onto lap 35. To tell you how far ahead they are, we're looking at the back pack here onto the backstretch, and the leaders just went into turn 1.
Loki Brown said in the chat, pitting in. I don't know how he plans to do that when he's on the top line, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
This seems like a lack of foresight on their part, if I'm honest. They should have been dropping back or something, or trying to find an opening. There's a little bit of one. Do they dare? A few cars coming in. Oh, a lot of cars coming in. Oh, the 24 gets hit, though. Can he hold on to it? No, he's going to smash into the wall and bounce back, and the poor 36 of Reese has to avoid. And unfortunately, Chris Willite, who was trying to pit, had to come back onto the track and not come into pit lane. Looks like we had a few more spinning under braking.
Unfortunately, you could see that coming. When you have 2 cars trying to come to the pits from the top side, and the leader, Lawrence Shaughnessy, actually came in from the lead, which caused a little bit of that trouble as well.
And they've thrown a caution for that. Look at that. Shaughnessy not happy, apparently. So it looks like the 8... Oh, you know what? Once again, the 8 involved in it. Last time, he was a little bit more of an innocent victim. This time, Brown, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to pit. The 8 wasn't interested in coming in. Clips him.
Yeah, I can't blame any of the people who pitted there, actually. I was a bit premature with that. That was Johnny being a little bit impatient and slamming into Brown, which unfortunately, that's his second incident of the day.
Last time I remember, it was the 25 getting his rear. So I think that one, you know, that's the first one really can put much blame on him. He's saying that he didn't hear the radio call for the pitting. I'm pretty sure that they had gotten on the radio, right?
I think I heard them. My radio wasn't turned up too loud, but I saw Loki Brown on the radio saying he was going to come in, and he also put a chat command in for pitting in.
Yeah, exactly. I could have sworn that it was him specifically. I thought that heard it, because the number 8 saying, you know, he didn't get any message for it. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Not what I experienced out there, as he is now our leader. Anybody coming in? Yeah, it looks like everybody coming in who didn't pit before.
And that was the wreck after the fast repair. So some of the drivers involved in that, I'm not entirely sure if they have fast repairs left. They might be stuck in the pits.
Yeah, Reese took a big hit on the first one, so he absolutely had to use his. This one was a hard slam as well, 2 hard slams. So he's been stationary for a while, taking extensive repairs. Everybody in. But the good news is this makes it a straight fight to the finish.
Absolutely, and I don't think we'll be seeing a single file train for very long. With only 16 laps to go, we are going to see a dogfight on the track for these last couple laps.
We're looking forward to that, but we'll come back after a very short break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll have the final laps here in the Epilepsy Awareness 150. Stick around. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. We are getting ready for our second restart, and we'll see if we go green to the end because it's starting to come down to it. A restart on lap 41, 14 laps to go, and it's going to be led by Lawrence Shaughnessy. Everybody is able to get to the end on fuel from here. So now it is a fight to get to the front and be there when the checkered flag waves. Easier said than done, certainly in superspeedway racing. Pace car is in. The number 9 waits for it, looking for the green to fly. Bit of a gap back there among some of the cars in the mid-pack. Now they're starting to close it in and get closer together. Long wait for this green. There it is. Shaughnessy is off. Bit of a lookout from the 49 up to the high side, then comes back down to try and see if he can help push Greer along. Big gap, though, on that top side. Back to the third in line. That is Josh Billiter. And, in fact, he's going to open up a big enough gap that it seems the 35 of Fuller decides he's going to try and fill it in. Everybody jockeying for position as they pick up pace, trying to get to top end.
Yep, and we got 19 competitive cars left. Nicholas Reese still on the track, but you can see he has no front bumper. Shaughnessy leads the way, but with only 13 laps now to go, we are going to be seeing non-stop action as a big swerve to the top by, who was that? That was the 45, I believe, of Austin, no, 55 of Adam Sweet. That was dramatic.
I think he was trying to get to the top line and he overcompensated, and now he's falling all the way back. It was the 45 that would have pushed him, but it seems the 8 of Johnny Brugge saw a chance and put himself in front of Austin Greer. So now he is at the top of the high line and getting quite a push. He might actually get to the front ahead of Shaughnessy. Can he clear him as they come down into turn 3? He's just about there. There he goes. The 8 is your new leader.
I think that's the first time he's been in the lead. He's been pushing most of the time today, but now Shaughnessy takes the top side. And Brugge goes back. That was aggressive.
A block this early is very unusual. This is the sort of stuff that you tend to see on the last lap. He doesn't want Shaughnessy to get the momentum. Oh, and they're going to make contact. He gets a little bit loose, ducks down low. The 24 doesn't hit him. How did they get away with that one?
I have no idea how they got away with that. Shaughnessy was about in the wall. Brugge absolutely flew down to the bottom line. I do not know how these drivers are still alive right now. That was ridiculous.
Even on the radio, the drivers are saying, we still got 11 laps to go, guys. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not sure why we're seeing maneuvers like that at this point in the race. The 24 still trying to help Brugge along. Brown giving a nice shove, but up on the high side, Austin Greer once again finding pace with Shaughnessy helping him along. Greer has been the one reluctant to take the lead away. In fact, they're pushing through the corners, not always a well-advised move.
And take a look at who's third and fourth in line on the bottom. Scott Ricard and Jamie Dobbs. Those were drivers who completely lost the draft, but they've been brought back in this by that caution.
9 is dangerously close to the 45. 24 as well. Almost looking like they are indeed pushing through the corners just ever so lightly. Flirting with disaster here as they come around to complete yet another lap, starting lap 45. This will be 10 to go. Got a third line for me, it looks like. I think that's the 25, or at least trying to get it to form. Nobody taking the bait, though.
Yeah, I think he just got a little bit high. But unfortunately, he is getting left for dead. No one is going to join him up there. And actually, he's made it back down to the second line.
Look at the top line. 2 cars clearing. That's Greer and Shaughnessy chopping in front of the number 8 with almost a whole car length to spare. as a few are diving up, including that number 8 of Brew, then changes his mind. He's got to be careful about that. The 24 only barely able to anticipate his line suddenly going away. And now the 9 going up high. Ooh, wow. Brew can't even decide where to go.
I will be amazed if these drivers make the next 9 laps without crashing again. There have been so many close calls over the last couple laps, and it's bound to happen again.
Last race of 2020 for this group. So again, everybody eager to get that W. There's no points, no championships in these special events. It is all down to who gets to the finish line first. There could be some dark horses in amongst the mid-pack as well. Going to be 8 to go, and that's plenty of time to start making some moves to get yourself up to the front. I'm looking at the 49 as well. That's not a driver we've seen up at the front much. Jay Adams.
Nope, he's been about in the midfield all day. Started 9th, now in 4th. But the drivers who are in that bottom 6 that lost the draft, they're all surprisingly far up front with not much experience running in this pack today. Jamie Dobbs, Scott Rickard, they are still moving their way up.
The 9 might have a shot at getting into the lead. He decides to stay high, though. Sticks with the 49. Shaughnessy could easily get another shot if he wants to, the way that he's been running today. Ooh, man, Brugge is scaring me, though. He is bobbling all over.
Yep, when we get to these last couple of laps and drivers start to really take advantage of that side draft on the top side, they get even closer than they are already. If Brugge moves up like that, it's going to cause an accident, as we see the green car of Loki Brown trying to go to the top, and Brugge takes that top line away from him. Now they're going 3 wide.
It's working for Brugge. He's ahead if he wants to get to the bottom. He decides to hold it. Now he's at the bottom. Leaves Loki behind. Shaughnessy's on the very, very high line of the 3. Still getting help from the 49. Now the 25 in with Brown. And we are well and truly 3 wide, down to 6 to go.
We saw the chaos that ensued when we were only 2 wide. Now we're 3 wide. As we go through turn 1, will we survive this? Surprisingly, yes.
Shaughnessy trying to find some pace on the ultra-high line here. Doesn't look like it's working, though. Needs a little bit more of a boost. Impressively, that middle line, sometimes referred to as the sucker hole, is not doing too poorly. Brown holding his own next to Brugge.
That top line doesn't seem to be working at all. Shaughnessy has fallen way back. The driver who was once leading the race is now lower than 10th, I think. Brugge goes with the other line.
Side-to-side contact between Brugge and Brown. He thankfully kept it together. Side-to-side contact behind them between Nethery and Sweets. They also keep it going. It is getting extremely feisty now.
This is some absolutely ridiculous racing, but that's what we expect from Talladega. I'm amazed that they're keeping it going. Only 5 to go. They're going to get even more aggressive as we keep going through these last 10 or so miles. Could we have a green-white checkered finish? I'm not so sure.
Brown still holding the lead in that middle line, but look at this. Top line's finally finding something. That's the 55 of Sweet. And Shaughnessy is the one that's helping him. Look at him go. They might actually get ahead of them if they want to jump down, but no, middle line's going to jump down. Do Sweet and Shaughnessy try to cover off the middle now? They can't. Here comes the 87. Too late, and it's starting to get a little bit unorganized, and indeed, we have a car wrecking on the bottom. That's the 25 of Nethery. He's offline. We're going to stay green.
Yeah, we went almost 4 wide there. And unfortunately, Nethery was the casualty of that. That car is still running, but he absolutely clobbered that inside safer barrier. He's well and truly out of this race, unfortunately.
Ryoval looking for the 3 to go. Right now, it is the 87 instead who is leading. Yakes, another one that we haven't seen up at the front hardly at all today. Brown.
Joseph Yakes, I think, was involved in that early crash, and he has made the comeback of the century.
Absolutely. Brown still behind him. Low line working well. We got cars wrecking down to the bottom. Once again, offline, Zaccardo and Dobbs. They are now out of the win. A few of them had to take evasive action in the back, and what was a big pack of about 14 cars has thinned out to maybe 3 to 5.
Adam Sweet was involved as well, but
caution.
yeah, Adam Sweet parked it on the track because I think he wanted that caution, but Kruska did throw the caution, our race director, after that.
This started out coming, no, we're looking at Sweet first here. Okay, yeah, this is the wreck coming out of 2. Wow, it's amazing nobody hit Sweet as he came across the track there. Getting another angle on it.
Yeah, the 60 just came up into Sweet, who got very squirrely, hit the wall, and he was out of control there. And then Zaccardo is the 60, and then the 91 of Jamie Dobbs, unfortunately, an innocent bystander and all that.
And then he had to check up that they were pretty much out of the hunt there. They've now caught the pace car. So with the caution being thrown, we will have a green-white checkers for this race. For those not familiar with how that works in oval racing, essentially they will get, it looks like, 1 try, I'm seeing, from what I understand at this point, 1 try to have overtime, as they call it sometimes, where they will get a green flag and they will come around for the white flag, so 2 extra laps. And if the yellow flag comes out on that first lap, that is it. The race is over. If it does not come out on the first lap, it becomes a race to the finish here on iRacing.
And it's going to be even more aggressive than it was already with a green-white checkered finish. They're going to start out 2 wide, and I think they're going to be going 3, maybe 4 wide as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think the big hope is just get to that white flag so that we can see a finish under green. Again, easier said than done, telling everybody to keep calm, especially those at the back who desperately want to get up to the front for a shot at the win. That was somebody getting their lucky dog. That was actually, yeah, Reese in the 36 in the very mangled car, which, you know, I would say he's not in it for the win, but, you know, you never know with these overtime finishes.
Well, unfortunately, he was 2 laps down, so this lucky dog is only to be 1 lap down. So unless we have multiple green-white checkered, I think Nicholas Reese will be in it for some track time and some fun.
He's definitely out of it then at that point. So who were our drivers that were in it, and where are they now? Shaughnessy, my goodness, remember how strong Shaughnessy looked? He's down in 11th position. So he's got a lot to make up. Sora, who's been fast at times, he's down in 10th. Austin Greer, who's been generally up at the front, he's fallen to 8th. It seems Brown and Brugge, and then I guess you could count Willite in there as well, because the number 7, remember, he put it on pole. So those 3, I think, are the most likely. But Yakes, who seems to have been playing possum a bit, certainly found his way to the front without being noticed. So can he retain it for 2 laps?
And also the driver in 5th, Kruska, he's been trying to stay at the back of the pack for the majority of this race, but suddenly he's in 5th, and he has a shot at the win on this green-white checkered, actually. So his conservative strategy seems to be paying off.
I think we're gonna get lights out. So we should be going green after 1 more pace lap. We're going to come across across the start-finish line. Yep, they're starting to go double file here. All right. Can we go without a wreck? One lap here. Crossing our fingers so that we can get a run to the line. Wait with it. Final time in 2020.
The virtual fans are dead silent. It's the calm before the storm here. Green-white checkered at Talladega always provides some drama and occasionally some disasters. Hopefully we don't have one of them. But either way, it'll be exciting.
And now the virtual fans really can actually make noise too.
Indeed, indeed. And especially in Alabama, we got some very passionate sports fans. You go into your settings, you click Alabama mode, you're gonna get your hooting and hollering, roll tide, all that kind of thing.
See now, they need to consult our own Sean Ambrose on what the infield needs to be like. He has extensive experience apparently down in the infield here at Talladega.
Yeah, I heard he's working on a 3D map based on his own experiences. I'm super excited to see that implemented.
Boy, that VR chat is going to be adults only, I believe. So, as we get ready to go racing once again, the 87 will have control of the field. Can Yakes pull off the great heist? Temperatures have finally gone down a little bit on the track, 111 degrees now. I wonder if some of that is the fact that the drivers have been pacing a little bit here at the end of this race. When during the middle, it was only pretty much a single caution for a majority of it. There goes the pace car as the Mustang starts to duck in. Organizer Kruska letting everybody know, let's stay clean. Obviously, they all want to finish off on a good note here and finish under green. And taking off early. Yakes is very early. Is he going to regret this decision? I think he is already, because they start to pick up the pace. And Loki Brown, Loki does not take advantage of it. He had a lot of momentum, and he ducks into line.
Yeah, that was a bit of a yikes from Yakes. He started before the trial pretty much, but it seems to have worked out for him because they're going single file now for the lead. It's a very interesting turn of events to finish this race.
And it actually caught out many behind them. Fuller, Hook, Wilson. I'm seeing so many drivers that have suddenly dropped back. They are not within the draft. We could have a 5-car fight for the finish here if we get to the white flag. So far, so good. Everybody's so spaced out that it's not looking as likely unless the 8 does something like that. He gets into the 7. They're going to get away with it. Off through the trioval. There's the white flag. It is green to the finish. Now it's every man for himself. We cannot get a caution from here. What can Yakes do to hold off a charging field behind him? Some are starting to be pulled in. Fuller managed to catch the slipstream. He could still slingshot his way up to the front. Brugge looking back and forth. He's been the most aggressive all race long. Loki Brown in front of him. The 8 gets in behind. So far, not much. Now we get a bit of a line. Oh, and they're going to tip the 8 around. Kruska gets involved in it. It's down to a 2-car run to the finish. Can the 24 get around him in time? The 87 has the track position, looking to the high side. Here comes Loki Brown. He's going to pull alongside him, but he doesn't have enough straight line speed, and it is going to be Yakes who takes it. After starting this race in 10th position, what a run from the 87.
Absolute calamity on the last lap. Kruska, the 6-car, became the 9-car. He was upside down flying over the field at that accident in turn 3.
Oh my goodness. I wondered what Brown was doing. I thought, man, you gotta go earlier than this, I would think, and he just ran out of steam. Here's the wreck. You're gonna see. Let's see, who was that caught him? There's a 7. And then unfortunately from there, well, everybody knows there's no caution, so everybody's foot to the floor. And unfortunately, that strategy did not seem to pay off for any car that tried to go through that wreck. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. We just watched the Epilepsy Awareness 150, the last race of these special events over 2020. And it was Joseph Yates who took the victory. Logie Brown finishing in second with Presley Sora in P3. How about Wesley Fuller? Didn't qualify, came from 18th to finish in fourth with Drew Bernardi behind him in P5. Josh Billiter from 20th to 6th was followed by J. Mitchell Adams in the 7th position. Scott Rickard in 8th was followed by Alan Wilson, a bit anonymous this race. He was 9th, and Bill Kruska, because of that late wreck, had to settle for 10th.
Then in 11th, it was Lawrence Shaughnessy, the last car to actually finish the race. We saw him lead for a little bit. Then in 12th place, Johnny Brugge, not the best day for him. 13th went to Chris Wilhite. 14th, Austin Greer, who we also saw leading for a little bit. 15th, Sean Hook, who didn't practice or qualify. Then Jamie Dobbs finished 16th. Adam Sweet and Nicholas Reese were 17th and 18th. And then Matt Sicardo 19th, and Jason Nethery, who we saw crash earlier, shotgun on the field in 20th.
And we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Joseph Yates going to join us. And Joseph, I guess Talladega is a teacher that tells you it ain't over till it's over. At one point, you were at the back pack and just looked like you had no shot.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of riding there because I just got all the damage fixed, and it just looked really sketchy up front. I wasn't sure if they were gonna crash or not, and then I just kind of got a burst of momentum, and then the seas kind of parted there for me in the middle, and I was able to just kind of fly up through the field there in like a lap or two. It was so much fun.
So then you had the green white checkers start to come out. We noticed you went very early. And at first, I thought that that was going to be a bad call. And then suddenly the 24 didn't try and overtake you. Did you expect that? Or did you feel like the early go was at first a mistake?
Well, the 24 is one of my teammates with Indy Autosport. I just recently joined up with the team, so we were kind of chatting back and forth, and we figured our best way to get a team win is to, get a jump on the restart and, have two cars there on the bottom lane instead of running side by side.
So there was some shenanigans going on that we couldn't hear. Well, then I guess I have to ask the inevitable question: was there team orders at the end, or was Brown actually going to try and take the win away at the line?
No, we were racing it out. I mean, there wasn't really any team orders on the restart. I kind of came up and was like, hey, this is the situation we're in. We got the restart going. I saw the crash in my mirror, and, from there on out, it was just the two of us. We were just racing it out.
Well, congratulations on getting the last win of these special events in 2020. Anybody you want to thank as you head out?
I mean, the biggest one I want to thank is, the guys at Indy Autosport for, reaching out to me, kind of recruiting me to the team. And of course, our team sponsors, Max Fast and SimRacer Coin. I mean, I wouldn't be here without them, and had a blast and happy to represent the team in my first outing with them.
Congratulations on the win. That was our victor today, Joseph Yates from Florida. And then we've got third place finisher, Presley Sora.
Presley Sora, you qualified second, finished third, but I think the most exciting part of your race was going through turn 3 and 4. I saw you go under Bill Kruska as he was flipping to take third place from about 10th place on that last lap.
Oh yeah, I saw them all crashing. I saw the smoke, and I just kept my foot in it and hope I made it through. And I ended up getting through it somehow, and then finishing third. So it was pretty good.
You were in the lead pack early on, and when the first caution came out, I believe you were involved in that. Did you take it a little bit more cautious, so to speak, in the middle part of the race, so you didn't have to get more repairs after you got your fast repair done early?
Yeah, normally my strategy in these is just to run up front the whole time, but once I got taken out in that crash and had to use the repair on, I think it was lap 8, the strategy then shifted to just survive to the end, so I had a chance, and I played it pretty passive and then kept the car clean and was able to make it up front to finish third there at the end.
Yep, well, in races at Talladega, sometimes surviving is an accomplishment in and of itself. Do you have anyone you want to thank for your third place finish? Anyone who's helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone on Moonsport. You can find them on Twitter, and also Slipstream Media for making the paint scheme. And I got to thank everyone on High Side Motorsports. They worked with me a little bit there. And same with Austin Greer in the 45. We worked together there at the finish, and he ended up getting taken out in it, but we probably would have finished third and fourth there if he wouldn't have gotten taken out. But it was fun working with all those guys. They helped a lot there towards the end, and it's a good race.
Indeed it was. And that seems to be the end of it. To take us out, let's go back to Joe Peak.
Absolutely. A big thank you to Kruska and his crew for bringing us on to cover these special events over the course of the year. And also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that you see listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. There is her Bandcamp listed on the screen as well if you want to check out some of her work. And then, of course, thanks to the team, Sean, Joe, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes our Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.